Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I do hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to tonight's second half. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter and are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? All right, everybody. Today I have a subscriber who reached out to me a little while back, and I was finally able to get in touch with her. Amanda, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for taking some time out of your evening. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I listen to your videos all the time.
That's awesome. Thanks. I get still a little weirded out when people say that. So, um, now I have not heard your encounter. You sent me an email about a month ago, and it's taken me this long to get back to you, so I'm sorry. But
It's all good.
I'd like to just, like you said, let's just rip it off. So the floor is yours, and I'd like to hear it.
All right. Well, it's been about some years since I actually had my first encounter, and I really don't know what it was. I was actually walking my pit bull Rhodesian Ridgeback mix through these woods that I actually have near my house that are located in Halethorpe, Maryland. It's a historic town. And I was cutting in between these houses, and it was like heavy woods off to my right. Everything was dead silent, which me and my friend, we found weird. We were walking through the woods with our pit, and this dog used to love to chase deer, like everything. She was not scared of anything. But one day we were walking through, and we ended up smelling this really horrid smell. And the dog was freaking out, just trying to yank me through these woods. I ended up looking over to my right, and I just had two black eyes staring back at me, and they towered over me. I'm 5'7", and I just had the fear of God, just like my whole body. I was done.
Right.
Like, I didn't know what to do. But my dog just yanked me all the way through. And me and my friend, we never said anything to anybody because we felt like nobody would believe us.
Right. Now your dog, that's a big dog. Both breeds are protective, very protective of their owners. So I'm assuming it's very protective of you. Now, did it act a certain way, or did it not? Did it acknowledge that there was something in the woods as well?
She acknowledged it. She just did not want to mess with whatever it was, and she was never one to pull me away from something like that.
Okay. Yeah, very strange. Now, was there any noise beside the odor that you smelled? Or...
I heard growling, but that was about it. It was kind of a weird growl. It was like a lower growl than any dogs would normally do.
Okay. All right. Let me think. So the eyes, they were blackish. Was there kind of a sheen to it, like a reflective kind of, like a shine?
It was lightly reflective, but there wasn't much to to it, which it was kind of weird.
Right, right. Now, what time of the day was this at approximately?
This was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and probably about April or May.
Okay, so just getting dark, not really dark yet, but still nighttime.
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely I mean, for your dog, that's both Rhodesian Ridgeback and a Pit. They're just very protective. I had a subscriber, a female subscriber, had I think 3, and they were so protective of her. But they actually ran from Dogman that was on her property actually too. So it doesn't surprise me much. Now you've said you've had a couple of encounters, or is that?
That's the only one I've had.
Okay. All right. Now, was there any kind of, it just stayed put, so it didn't move after you guys left the forest?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
It didn't move at all.
All right. How big is the woods that you were in? Do they connect with other woods, or is it kind of just like a block, like a...
I mean, they go from, they're at least like 2-3 miles long, thick woods.
Okay. Okay. So large enough for something to hide into, maybe not to call home permanently, but just to travel through. Are there deer and other kind of wildlife in these woods?
Yes,
Okay.
a lot.
All right. That's definitely a freaky encounter. Kind of hard to figure out if it's a Dogman or a Bigfoot. I've heard definitely 2 different kinds of encounters out in Maryland, Bigfoot and Dogman. So with the eyes, I've heard, black eyes on Dogman as well. So you're lucky to have a dog that pulled you out of there.
Yeah, I was definitely happy, and my boyfriend actually turned me on to that. I found out, and that's how I told him about the encounter.
Right. Yeah. Well, tell him thank you. I appreciate that. Now, the odor, was it like I know it's hard to describe a stink, but is there something that you can put it toward? Like a smell that you can compare it to?
Like urine.
I'm sorry, you broke up right there.
It smelled like very strong urine.
Okay. All right. Yeah, definitely. You're very lucky to be, I don't know whether it would have attacked you or not, but definitely lucky to be out of the woods. Definitely with a creature. I mean, I don't know if it was going to attack you or not. Nobody really can say on that, but, it's obvious that it didn't want you in those woods, so.
Yeah, I haven't gone around that area since then.
I can't blame you. I cannot blame you. Is there water, like a waterway in these woods, like a pond, stream, anything like that?
Yeah, there's actual watersheds around here.
Okay. All right. Is there any train tracks, pole lines, or anything like that in the area?
Amtrak and Mark go right up and down my street.
Okay. All right. Oh, so you're really close to this property still?
Yes.
Oh, that's... How long ago was this? A couple years?
It was like 13 years ago.
Okay. All right. Wow. That's definitely terrifying. And has there been any, like, strange noises prior to that or after that? I mean,
I remember a couple years after we ended up hearing strange noises. Me and my boyfriend were up in the field, and we heard, like, a very strange howling growl.
Okay.
When, like, it was probably 4 or 5 years after that incident. And we just ended up leaving, so we didn't feed anything, we just heard that, but we just ended up leaving.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now, I'm assuming that you probably don't go in the woods, or do you still with your dog, or do you get an eerie feeling if you do still?
I still go in the woods. Okay. That doesn't stop me.
Right.
But I still enjoy the woods, but I still take my dogs with me, and I'm always listening to my surroundings now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, definitely. In tonight's upload, I said, just because you have an encounter or something, there's there was a guy that had an encounter, and he, the encounter freaked him out, but it also didn't stop him from going in the woods. It changed the way he goes in the woods and a certain approach that he takes it. But I mean, nature's too beautiful to not enjoy. So
exactly.
Well, all right. I appreciate you taking some time out of your evening to share this experience with us. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to the encounter, or anything else that you'd like to add in general?
That's pretty much it. I'm really glad that you had me. Oh.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's definitely, I mean, it really puts even a small encounter is an encounter, and it's impacted. It really does affect people's lives, even if you didn't see full on this thing come out at you and it chased you. It's still something that happened, and it puts everything into perspective. Now there's something, just a spot in Maryland, that a locale that we're not aware of, and I can put this on kind of a little map that I have of encounters that subscribers have shared with me. So I appreciate that.
That's cool. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your evening. And once again, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you, because I know you're very busy.
No, I apologize once again. With emails, I just I save the ones, I go through my emails, and I get as everybody gets a ton of emails, crap emails. And then if I see a subscriber comment, I hit a star and I put it in my starred, and then I try to get back to it like within a week, but sometimes it takes a little longer. So thank you for being patient. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Well, have yourself a great evening.
You do the same, Jack.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, in a small patch of forest in Maryland, they can live anywhere. Like Amanda said, there is water, there is prey, and I'm pretty certain that these creatures are capable of finding a place to bed down. Now, with the dog at hand, I mean, you've got a mix of a pit bull, which do get a bad rap, but they are a protective dog, I think they're a very good dog. It depends on the owner, but, they do get a bad rap, like I said. But they're protective and very muscular. And then it's bred with a Rhodesian Ridgeback, which is a lion hunter. These dogs were used to hunt lions, disorient lions, and they are pretty fearless. So you've got a combination of two dogs that are very protective and fearless. And this dog was like, let's get out of here, because it obviously knew that there was something in those woods that it didn't want to play with. The smell of urine with the growls, it could have been a Dogman or a Bigfoot. And I don't know which one, because I wasn't there and she didn't see it. She just saw the eye shine. I've heard countless encounters of Dogman having red, orangish, yellowish, black, blue eyes. The growling, I mean, I've heard Bigfoots growl as well. Either way, it was a dangerous cryptid in those woods. And I feel that she is definitely lucky to be out of there and without any harm. So, once again, I appreciate Amanda reaching out, and let's get into a couple other encounters. Today's second half of the upload These encounters happened in Mason County, where I live in a town called Shelton, Washington. I grew up on a 90-acre farm with all farm animals you can think are out there and had acres upon acres of woods around us. We used to ride dirt bikes and such all around the farm and the local logging company's lands. My first encounter was when I was probably 7 to 8 years old. My mom and stepdad went out for the night, and they had asked my brother to come watch me and my 13-year-old cousin who was living with us at the time. My brother and I are 15 years apart. He came over with two of his friends, Wes and Derek. I know them very well from growing up, as my brother had to drop out of school and take care of me so my mom could go to work, and I've always hung out with them playing video games and such. Anyway, my parents left at about 6 or 7 p.m., and this was towards the end of December, so it does get pretty dark quick. They had left, and we were all playing board games upstairs and listening to music. We played Monopoly for a couple of hours, and then it was my bedtime. I was crawling into bed, and just when I was about to fall asleep, I heard something hit my window. Now, this was not a big boom, and this was a second-story house. I was at the very top story. I don't really think anything of it, as many times a small bird would fly into the window. I lied in bed for a couple of minutes, and then it happened again. It sounded like it was a small pebble hitting the window. Like I said, this was nothing big, as no damage to the window happened. This went on for 15 to 20 minutes, and every couple of minutes something would hit the window. At this time, I really didn't know what Sasquatch or Dogman was, but I was concerned. I went and got my cousin for her to come and listen. The way I described it to my brother and cousin and his friends was it sounded like a small bead from like a friendship bracelet was hitting the window. My cousin came and listened, and sure enough, 4 to 6 times more something was hitting the window. And it was small enough that we couldn't see it coming. Keep in mind it was pitch black outside, and the only light that would be shining out the window would be from my room upstairs. My brother thought I was lying, and he eventually came to listen, and sure enough it happened again. My brother's a pretty big guy, not tall but wide and strong. He's like a small gorilla, as I like to put it. Not a lot of things scare him. My brother told us to get into the bathroom and lock the door. I remember going to the bathroom as he walked to the front of the house and onto the front deck. I could hear him screaming, "Whoever is effing out here, I'll F you up," he said. And you could hear something on the side of the hill, as the 90 acres are in a valley and the main road is up above us, which across the road led to more woods and logging acres for the company Green Diamond. I remember leaving the bathroom and seeing my brother with the front door open shooting off his CO2-powered handgun. Nothing that could take down a creature that size or even come close. My brother at this point was nervous and scared, and his friends were as well. My brother tried to put our dog out, whose name was Hunter. Hunter was a black lab and was not scared of anything. He would chase around cows and horses and such. As my brother was trying to put him outside, Hunter wouldn't go. My brother was grabbing Hunter by the back of his neck and trying to push him out. He was yelling and screaming. He was actually started peeing himself all over the floor and my brother. Not a good sign. We decided to go back upstairs and turn all the lights off, and the pebbles hitting the window stopped. As soon as we turned the lights on again, it started happening again, this time larger rocks. I think that whatever it was, when it could see us through the window with the lights on, was trying to get our attention. My brother was so scared at this point, he tried calling my mom and stepdad multiple times, but they weren't answering. He finally said, "We have to get out of here," and we all ran to his car and left for Olympia, where my grandmother lived. As we were leaving, I could barely see the cows in the field, but they were all huddled together, and I could see our bull walking around the herd protecting them. As we left, I didn't see anything as my brother got around the pond and punched it, and we were out of there. My mom came home to find us all gone. She was worried and got in touch with my grandmother, who told her the story. They ended up getting in touch with the game warden, who said he did find tracks and called them large bear tracks, but said he had not seen tracks like that before. He said the tracks were close to a bear, but the soil, whatever walked up it, was big and caved in, looked like it had large toes, kind of like whatever was walking up it was putting its toes down first and arching its foot. That was the last time I had anything thrown at my window. This is my second encounter. I saw it this time. I was probably 14 or 15, and like I said before, our property is basically off a cliff in the valley. I had to walk up our driveway, which was around 50 to 60 yards to the road where I'd wait for my bus. My mom was always on the porch smoking a cigarette and would make sure I get on the bus okay. I was waiting on the top of the hill one morning, and from the top you could see the property, but the trees and bushes would cover a big portion of it up. I was standing on top, and I heard a lot of commotion and things coming from the field below. I was looking, and I could see something big and black standing straight up, flinging its arms to side. Now, this was about 250 yards away and downhill. I could make it out, but not any definition of it, like facial features and such. Anyway, this thing was whipping its arms back and forth, and my mom was like, "What is that?" as she yelled to me. I said, "Something big and black is in the field." She said to stay where I was and not to move. The way the house sits is the porch faces on the side of the hill. To look out to the field, you either have to go left of the porch and jump on the roof, or go in the living room and look out the side window. I was watching this big black thing, what looked like it was tearing at its skin, and it was pretty pissed off. It let out a couple of loud snarls, and I was scared at that point, frozen in place, watching this happen. I really didn't know what to think of it. This thing was stumbling left to right, but it was not off balance like a bear would be if it was on two legs. If you've ever seen those athletes train they have large elastic bands that go around their waist, and if someone holds it and you run as hard as you can, it is called resisting running. This thing obviously walked on two legs as it was trying to get away. Now, on our farm, we herd our cattle with electric fence into sections so they don't eat too much. We have an electric fence that is stationary with pretty thick metal wires. This thing ripped out 300 to 400 yards of stationary fencing, which is thick wire and had posts connecting to it, dug 5 feet down and stapled into the fence posts. Now this electric fence runs 24/7, and somehow this thing was crossing, I guess, and tried to go underneath the wire and got shocked, and I'm sure scared by this. It finally got free while getting zapped, and I had never seen something move as quick as it did. It was taking 8-foot-long running strides, and it was gone into the trees where I couldn't see it any longer. It covered maybe 30 yards in 6 to 8 steps. My mom, the whole during this, is yelling, "What do you see? Where'd it go?" I yelled to her after it had left, and about 5 minutes later my bus came and I went to school. I thought about this thing the whole day. Well, that day I ended up getting in trouble at school, and the teacher called my stepdad, so I stopped thinking about it and was wondering what punishment I was going to receive when I got home. I got home and my stepdad was waiting and said that he had gotten a call from the teacher and said that I was grounded until the fence in the field was fixed. Then it hit me. Oh crap, I have to fix the fence that this big black thing got stuck in. The damage was unreal, and I pled to my stepdad not to make me go out there, and told him the story. He wasn't having it, so I had to fix it. I got in trouble on Friday, and it was then the weekend. I just kept thinking to myself, I have to go out to where this thing was actually at. I basically just sucked it up and walked into the field and started working on the fence. digging out the old broken post and putting in new ones and running new wire as the old wire was all bent. The whole time I was scared. I knew I wasn't going to finish the work in one day. And all I could think about was this big black thing that looked huge from far away. Last thing I wanted to do was see it up close. It had to have been at least 7 to 8 feet tall, and its width and mass was insane. We have black bear here, but they're nowhere near the size of what I saw. It started to get dark, and there was no way I was staying out there. I headed home. My mom and I started talking, and she said I had nothing to worry about, that it was just a bear. A bear doesn't move like that, I told her, and has long arms that bent like it's rotating around the shoulder area just like humans, and trying to get this electrical wire off it. I woke up early Saturday morning, ate breakfast, and headed out. Now, the day before, I had maybe 2 hours of work done on this project, and even though I was scared, I didn't feel like something was watching me. We as humans have instinct as well, and you know when you have eyes on you, or a long period of time. I started working around 9 o'clock, and it had about 4 to 5 hours of straight work to do. At about 1 hour into the work, things got extremely quiet. No birds, no cows mooing, nothing. I stopped and looked around at all of the trees around me, and I could just feel something was there. Now, I didn't see it again, but this thing, whatever it was watching what I was doing. I had a large machete with my .22 caliber rifle as well. When I started to feel less and less comfortable, I got very defensive when I get to this state. I have ever since I was young. I felt like I had to let this thing know that if it was going to try to take me down or hurt me, that I wasn't going down easy. Kind of like when people try to do this to a bear. I grabbed the machete and my gun at the same time and just started screaming and yelling as loud as I could. Yelling, "I'll mess you up," that I am at the top of the food chain, and I will leave victorious, beating my chest and showing this thing I wasn't scared, when in actuality I was terrified. But I'm not going to go down like that. I'm going to at least go out swinging. After 2 or 3 minutes of me doing this, I was out of breath. I felt that whatever was watching me had stopped and left. I finished the work, and that was my last encounter. Like I said, in my head, this was no bear. We have had cougars, bear, coyotes stuck in the fence before, and they have never caused the damage or never made that noise I had heard. Like a really pissed off grunt, snarl, yell. In my opinion, the cougar scream was much more scarier, but it also is something that I know exists out there. I know this sound, it sounded more human, and it sounded like it was really pissed off. And today's final encounter. So it was around 6-ish, maybe 7 years ago. I was 8 at the time. My brother was just being born, and we did share a room together. No, we had one window that looked out over our swampy lake. It's thick woods near it. My mom would often go visit the lake because there were around 3, maybe 4 alligators there. Yeah, I know, it was dangerous, but alligators didn't seem to mind us much. We often fed them lunch meat, and they didn't seem to mind it much. They kept their distance, but never did I get the impression that they wanted to be near us. There was an alligator in particular that got close to us than the rest. And when I say close, I don't mean within arm's reach. I mean, it would come out of the water and grab the meat, stare at us a second, and then go back. And I was particularly fond of that one. I don't know. Just seemed nice, I guess. Never could put my finger on it. Anyway, we also lived next to a very thick wood. And by thick, I mean you'd walk in a zigzag pattern for 10 minutes. There was a very real possibility that you would have to climb to the nearest wasp-ridden tree to find your way back out of it. which was the only one for quite some distance, but never mind that all. The thing I wanted to share with you is there were 2 alligators in the pond instead of 3. A week before one of the alligators went missing, my mom and I noticed this really stinky smell, and it kind of smelled like trash. Not the kind of trash you smell when you say ew and move on with your day. The kind of trash that you take one sniff and actually cover your nose and gag. And soon after this, no game at all. Sure, still birds, but no deer, which here frequent the area, no snakes, lizards, nothing. And the smell was often accompanied by whoops or growls, and I mean deep sounds, not like a chippy squeak. Me and my mom didn't want to think about how birds couldn't have made those sounds that we had heard, so we ignored them. And when we couldn't pass it off as woods being woods, one night I was awoken by my baby brother whimpering. Me being the caring big brother, I got up to console him. I picked him up and looked out the window and hushed my brother. As soon as he stopped crying, I could hear the faint but very clear hissing of the alligators and dragging sounds. I'm Floridian, so I can recognize alligator noises from the woods. There is nothing in the woods that would make an alligator hiss like that. Maybe another gator if they were fighting each other. And to that I say, this was a kind of hissing where it was on the defensive, not offensive. The kind of hiss when there is a bigger gator somewhere nearby. But all the gators were about the same size, around 5 to 9 feet. But then the hissing stopped, following by a distinct crunching and snapping sound, then the sound of dragging and chewing. But the most distinct, this is, that I swore I could see an almost human shape, maybe 8 to 9 feet tall. I want to say it was bigger, but me being 8 at the time, and the fact that people exaggerate, prohibits me from doing that, but it seemed to be dragging something over its shoulders, something long and slender out of the pond. Me and my 8-year-old child mind was terrified. I put my brother back in bed and stayed up the rest of the night, eyes fixed on the window. The next morning when my parents went into my room to wake me up, they saw clearly sleepy I was. I was petrified, holding my baby brother staring out the window. When they asked what was wrong, I simply said something was outside. This made my dad go outside with his gun, as looters were a big concern of his for some odd reason. And he took me with him. We investigated the pond. Nothing too out of the ordinary, except the gators were out of the pond. But we did find something a few yards from the pond. And I say yards, even though I'm American, because I want to emphasize that this was more than a few feet. We found a fresh gator corpse. And by fresh, I mean that not even the flies or buzzards have gone to pick at it yet. The one thing that still stumps me to this day is that we found part of the gator's jaw, not like the whole jaw, but a distinct fragmented part of the lower jaw. I never saw a gator I was fond of again. Well, that's my encounter. Oh, and I just wanted to tell this. My dad passed it off as a bear, even though bears don't frequent where we lived, and I don't think a bear could kill an alligator. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Thank you all for supporting this channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps the channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.